Good morning, everybody. Hello. Jen from the Witch City Planning Coven here. And today we are chatting with Jenn Waltner from Phoenix and Lotus. So we are just waiting for her to pop on. And she is also, they are the sponsors for the Witches Market, which is free to the public. And it is also Saturday night. The doors open at 6:30, and you definitely want to be there. There's going to be so many vendors. There's going to be a virtual DJ. Cool. And we did that so we can have more room for vendors. And we're going to actually cast it onto one of the white walls. It's going to be awesome. Good morning.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I am doing well.
Yay! Thanks for coming on this morning.
I am excited to be here.
Yay! So let me just introduce you real quick and then we'll get to it. Everybody, just like I was saying before, we have Jenn Waltner here from Phoenix and Lotus, and they will be vending at the Witches Market, which I was just chatting about as well. So Jenn, why don't you tell us about your store, how it started, and what you have in there?
Great. So I have been reading tarot for about 30 years, maybe a little longer. And I went through some cycles with that where I, would read regularly, then I would fall out of practice.
Right.
And my sister-in-law got me a deck for Christmas one year, and it was very different than the deck that I was used to working with. And I realized that having a different deck offered a different perspective for me and made me consider the cards in different ways.
Right.
So then I sort of started collecting and looking at different decks. And I found that I was really drawn to indie decks. And then when I would go to psychic fairs and things like that to do readings, when things would be slow, different readers would trade readings with each other. Right. And I kept getting comments about, oh my God, I love this deck. Where did you get this? I would totally buy this. And I thought, you know what? There are a lot of readers here. There are not a lot of people who are selling cards. And there are definitely not people who are selling independently produced cards. And a lot of artists are not necessarily interested in the sales part of the equation. Right?
Yes, this is very true. So true.
Like, they make a deck, they're good, they do the Kickstarter or whatever. They don't want to be bothered with consistently having to go to events or open a retail shop, and now they've got 500 decks sitting around and they don't know what to do with them. And I reached out to a few of the artists whose decks I really loved and just asked them if they would be willing to wholesale.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And they said yes. And I was thrilled. I was really excited. So I started off with a website and 5 decks that I was selling.
Oh, right.
And I started going to some like pagan festivals and psychic fairs and things like that, doing some events. And it just sort of grew over time to become this collection of indie tarot, oracle, Lenormand decks.
Oh, I love it.
And then a few years ago, Hyben Forge opened up in Salem. And I had worked with Jen and Rachel in the past doing some of the oddities markets at Mill Number 5 in Lowell, and Rachel and I actually played roller derby together, so we know.
Oh my God, that's so cool! Wait, I want to do that.
It's really amazing. It's a really fantastic experience, and there's actually a significant overlap between the magical community and the derbyverse. So
that's awesome. That's like the best thing I've heard. I love to skate, and nobody I know skates around here. So I'm sorry, I just totally went on a tangent with that, but I'm very excited to hear that.
No, roller derby is amazing, and it's magical.
Yeah.
So they invited me to be one of the members of this community, which Hyben Forge is a group shop, almost like a group antique shop, but it's a collection of creators and curators.
Right.
So there's an apothecary, there's taxidermy, there's jewelry makers, there's artists that are making prints.
It's an awesome place. It really is.
So it's just people that really are passionate about what they're doing and finding and making these really special objects. And it's a wonderful place. And I love that we do have that presence in Salem. And I love that people can go in and can interact with the decks. Because for me, I am really touchy-feely. And I want to go through all the cards. I want to look at the artwork. I want to make sure my favorite card isn't making a stupid face. I want to make sure the card stock doesn't suck.
All right. Well, what's your favorite card? Now I have to ask. I mean, at the moment, I know it changes, but at the moment.
So for me, Death and the Queen of Cups
are okay, good.
Like, those are my cards.
Those are your cards, right? Yeah, I'm on a Queen of Wands kick right now.
Nice.
That's my card right now, but yeah.
Nice.
I always love knowing that about people. I actually wrote an article and I asked like so many people, and just the different answers from that was like so interesting.
Nice. I also have a soft spot for the Hierophant.
Yeah.
One year I drew him 31 times for my daily draws, and I was like, seriously, a month?
Over a month. Long time. Wow. That's right? Awesome though.
So finally I was like, I get it. I get what you're trying to tell me. And then he sort of backed off. So that was cool. But
right. Oh, that's funny. I love that. So from the Hyben Forge, then you just kind of jumped into your own space. Is that how that kind of evolved?
So I actually my space is still all through Hyben Forge.
Okay.
I'm still online and event-based, and I still have a full-time day job.
Of course.
So that happens.
Yeah.
But it's really a nice balance to be able to have that creative outlet and help people find the decks that help them develop a deeper practice.
Right.
Or look at things in a different way. This past weekend, I was at the Allentown Night Market in Pittsburgh, and I got to sell 3 people their very first decks.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that is so exciting for me, where people are like, I don't really know how to do this. I'm like, you will learn. Like, the only way you're going to learn how to do it is to do it.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Buy a deck, start drawing cards, start keeping a journal, you'll figure it out, and that's how you get better.
And that's it, before you know it. Absolutely. And I always love when people find like that deck that they really resonate with too. And I'm actually creating a deck. I'm creating 2 decks right now. One's a Kickstarter, one's through Llewellyn. And, just going through that process too, it's very, you just learn so much. Like even from when we, I'm not doing the art. I do have an artist. So just going through the first card to where we are now, we're like 3/4 of the way through. And just like how much I just learned and saw, and just by sharing my cards and seeing how people react to them and stuff like that, it's really been an interesting journey, and I've really learned a lot, and when you create a deck, it's not, people don't realize how long it takes.
I mean, for a tarot deck, it's 78 cards, at least, if you don't do bonus cards.
Yeah, and 79 if you double card back.
Right.
That too.
And then I think people underestimate the number of decisions that go into that beyond the artwork. It's, borders and card stock, and do I have a guidebook? Do I not have a guidebook? Do I do a PDF? What does the box look like?
Right. Even the titles on, the nameplates on the cards, like what is the font for that? And you go look at fonts and there's 4 million and you're like, oh God, okay.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Do I use Roman numerals, or do I use different, it's, do I write the names on all the cards or do I
Right.
skip that part? Like there's so many decisions,
Yes.
and I think
Edging.
people
I'm on an
underestimate that.
edging kick right now. I'm like, edging or no edging? Edging, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
And
It's like
people
so
feel
much.
very strongly about that. And
Yes.
oh my God, people,
They do.
borders
Like,
are
it's a thing. It's a thing. And I'm like, oh crap. Okay. No, it is. And I love that, you know, you are helping to kind of showcase that for indie creators, because it is true. Like you said, like some, you know, some people will put them on Etsy, but then that's a whole thing too, you know, especially now there's a lot of changes and, you know, just shipping issues and stuff like that. So I love that, you know, you're kind of giving them that space, and that kind of takes the pressure off a little bit too, if they're not a really big selling type person.
right.
For sure.
And it's fun to be able to connect with different artists and find what's unique about their decks, like what makes their decks different or their stories different, and ultimately helping them connect with the people that need those decks or want to see themselves represented in ways that a lot of traditional publishers have not always prioritized.
Right, right. And even with me creating one, you know, traditional and one Kickstarter, like the differences are like, it's really great. So I have to kind of like switch brains when I'm working on one over the other, because it is definitely a different animal. And, you know, it's one of those things too, like when you're just doing your own, you kind of, you know, you do it the way you want. This is how you want to do it. But when you're doing traditional, there is kind of a set guideline of how they want it to go. And especially Llewellyn, they're very traditional. They've been around forever, and they are very set in their ways. So it is like that difference too. And, you know, it's just great to be able to have that creativity and kind of, you know, go off. And, you know, for me too, I'm really trying to make sure it's inclusive. So that's like a big thing too. Like, you're trying not to forget anybody. You're like, I'm trying to like include everybody in there. I'm trying to like make sure everybody's where they need to be, and it's represented in a way that they will be happy with too. And I think that's a great thing about indie decks too, is just being able to kind of go off on that and really, you know, do that the way you want.
Right. And I think that there tends to be a lot more cultural sensitivity in artists who approach that process in the way that you just said. Like, I want to include everybody, and the next sentence or the next part of your sentence was in a way that they would feel good about. Like, that is, I think, the difference, is trying to be respectful and inclusive, as opposed to, I'm just going to throw in some token representation.
Right, like just slamming
like,
in cards, like just to say it's there, you know.
Right, like that's not meaningful. That's not, that doesn't feel good.
Right. So. No, it is true. And there's just definitely been cards. I've just had it like the artist sent it to me and did it exactly the way I wanted. I was like, okay, wait a minute, something's missing. And then I got to start like asking people like, okay, you know, how does that resonate with you? How does that resonate with you? So it's, you know, it's my deck, it's my creation, but I'm trying to include other people in that process too, just to get their ideas and how they feel about it, because that does matter to me, you know, like it's kind of like my baby I'm putting out there, like, but everybody's dressing the baby.
Yes.
So it's kind of like that.
Right. Or it's like when parents come up with a name and you're like, really? You named your kid that? Are you sure? Have you thought about nicknames?
Exactly. Which is really funny because like my muggle job was an OBGYN nurse. So the name thing came up quite a bit. I had a girl, she wanted to name her baby Diamond. And I had thoughts on that. I had thoughts, you know, and I'm trying, you know, you try not to judge and everything, but she was super young. And I said, well, let's think about this 10 years from now. Let's think about this 20 years from now, you know, let's try to get a little perspective here. And she winded up keeping the name, which I was just like, you poor baby. But she did have a nickname, so I'm hoping that the nickname stuck because it was a little better. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I was just like, oh boy. But it is definitely very related to that. Like, I totally understand what you're saying there.
Yes.
It definitely is something for sure. So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on all the interwebs and all the things. And of course, if you are going to the Witches Market, which I know you all are, and I plan to see you there, make sure to go visit the Phoenix and Lotus table.
Yes, so I am at phoenixnlotus.com, and that's Phoenix, like the city, the mythical bird, the letter N, and then Lotus, like the flower. And that's my handle for Instagram, Facebook.
Just all the things.
Yes, everything. The YouTubes, which I've been sorely neglecting. But
me too. It's okay. It's okay.
Fine.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying, the email, like all of a sudden everything just got really busy. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, what happened here? Like, what's going on? We have like 5 weeks to go until Witch City. And I'm just like, wow, like I'm like feeling that like funnel going now.
Yes. But it's so exciting.
It is. I love it.
I love how the energy around the event has been ramping up, and people are getting more and more excited as it gets closer. And it's just a fantastic lineup of presenters and artists and workshops and vendors. And I'm really thrilled to be part of it.
Right. It's going to be so exciting. I'm so excited. I can't just wait to meet everybody in person. I've been talking to everybody. So I'm like so excited to meet everyone in person now. It's going to be so much fun. So, well, thank you for coming on and hanging out with me for a little bit. And like I said, I can't wait to meet you in person. It's going to be awesome. Yes. And everybody go ahead and make sure you visit Jenn's website and visit her at the Witches Market, Phoenix and Lotus. And you all have a wonderful day. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us too. Bye.
Bye.